following is a production of Cary TV, the Town of Cary's government access channel.
Call to order the April 8th meeting of the Cary Town Council. I want to thank you for joining us from your home tonight. As we continue to follow the governor's state of emergency orders, we are streaming tonight's meeting virtually. The majority of the council is present here with me tonight. We all had our temperatures checked before entering the chambers, and as you can see, we've adjusted our seating arrangements to maintain proper social distancing. Each person has been given hand sanitizer as well as a mask to use as they deem appropriate. To meet the requirement of the remote meetings law, we have one council member participating remotely throughout WebEx, and that is Council Member Urha. Mr. Urha, thank you for joining us this evening remotely.
Happy to be here.
All right. The first order of business is to recognize Mayor Pro Tem France for our ceremonial opening. Mr. France.
Thank you, Mayor. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
It's now time to adopt the agenda. We have no changes, so I would entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
There's a motion.
Second.
And the second. Discussion. Roll call vote starting with Councilmember Urha.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem France.
Aye.
Councilmember Liu.
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Bush.
Aye.
And I'm affirmative, and it's a unanimous vote, and we have approved the agenda. And I'll now turn it over to Town Manager Stiegel for his update.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. As I have for the last several months, I wanted to provide yet another update on the COVID-19 pandemic. Wake and Chatham counties remain yellow in the state's COVID County Alert Report. This means that while there is still a significant community spread of the virus, the cases and hospitalizations have become manageable. To put this into a very meaningful context for us, we're holding at 98 out of more than 1,200 employees who've tested positive for the virus since the pandemic began over a year ago. With all of this in mind, we've been able to safely activate a number of modified recreation and cultural resource programs in Cary, which is making many of our citizens very happy. Our first track-out camps for students ended last week. Adult and youth sports league registrations are now open, and we're seeing solid interest from the community. And one of my favorite places, Cocoa Amphitheater, has reopened. Last night, we had 400 people attend the first concert of the Josh Sellers Jazz Series. And on another note, I also want to share that Cary is selling 2 surplus police cars to the town of Ayden, North Carolina. Ayden is about 100 miles east of Cary, near Greenville. Ayden, which has a population of 5,000, only has 12 cars, and 2 of them were recently destroyed in separate crashes. So we're feeling very good about our opportunity to help them. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. We now move to Public Speaks Out. The instructions for submitting comments for our Public Speaks Out were attached to the posted agenda. Participants had the opportunity to send comments through the email 311 online portal and regular mail. All comments received before noon today were mailed to the council, and a printed copy was given to council before tonight's meeting. At this time, I'll open up Public Speaks Out, and I'll call on our town clerk to see if we have anybody to speak at Public Speaks Out.
No comments, but we do have Julie on the line. Julie, would you please confirm you're the correct speaker by giving your name and address?
Yes, my name is Julie Gavigan, and my address is 107 Anglers Cove, Cary, North Carolina.
Please proceed.
Good evening, Mary Weinbrecht and members of council. My name is Julie Gavigan, and it has been my privilege to live and grow up in Cary all my life. At your March 25th remote public hearing, Glenda Tops spoke on behalf of my firm, Blue Hill Development, to introduce our zoning case REZ08 on Louis Drive in Cary. I wanted to speak tonight to further clarify some of the details of our earlier presentation. As a local developer, what is important to me is to be able to have a positive impact on the surrounding communities and be able to help with 3 of their existing problems. First, this area has had some historic flooding, and we would be able to improve the overall stormwater issues with the grading of our site and the installation of our stormwater pond. Second, the sidewalk along Louis Drive needs to be regraded so that children do not have to stand in a puddle at the bus stop. We will also be adding a crosswalk and additional sidewalks, which will provide pedestrian connectivity to all of the community residents. Third, the residents are concerned with cars speeding through the neighborhood. We are proposing to install a landscaped median, which is a traffic calming device to encourage cars to slow down as they go through the neighborhood. My team and I believe that rezoning this parcel to a diversity to townhomes is good for the community as a whole. Our parcel represents the ability to incorporate a diversity of housing. The future growth map designates this property as traditional neighborhood where single-family attached homes are specifically called out. I did want to address the buffer concern. The site has an existing stream buffer ranging in width from 100 to 150 feet, which naturally separates the townhomes from the existing single-family on Millybrook Court. Because of the expressed concerns of the neighbors, we have added an additional condition of a 80-foot Type A buffer abutting the 3 houses on Millybrook Court. This is more than double what the LDO requires. Additionally, we added a 100-foot setback from the Millybrook boundary. Lastly, the biggest concern expressed was the amount of increased traffic. We felt the right thing to do was to hire a traffic consultant to perform a traffic analysis. Our consultant has confirmed that the added traffic from our proposed community will add a 1-second delay to the morning commute and 2.9 seconds to the evening commute. By performing this analysis, we are able to objectively confirm that our proposed project is not adding a significant amount of traffic delay to the neighborhood. In summary, it's important as a lifelong Cary resident and local developer that we are a good partner and we will be able to make some positive impacts to the Brookstone community. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Any other speakers?
No other speakers.
All right, I'll close Public Speaks Out, and we'll now move to the consent agenda portion of tonight's meeting. And for those that are following along, we're at item 4. For the benefit of people watching our meeting on TV, I'm going to take a moment to review our consent agenda items. Please keep in mind that one vote approves all of these items. On the consent agenda, we have Court Renovation Bid Award, calling for public hearings 21A06 Page Road Investments LLC annexation and 21A07 Balaja Commercial LLC annexation. Would council members like either of these pulled for discussion? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
There's a motion
Second.
and a second. Discussion. All right, roll call vote for the consent agenda. Councilmember Yerha.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem France.
Aye.
Councilmember Liu.
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Butch.
Aye.
I'm affirmative, and it's a unanimous vote to approve the consent agenda, which takes us now to public hearings. Same rules for public hearings apply as applied to Public Speaks Out with one exception. Speakers now have 5 minutes instead of 3 for their comments. Once again, I'll remind everybody that instructions for submitting comments for tonight's public hearings were included in the public hearing notice, and participants had the opportunity to comment through email 311 online portal, and regular mail. All comments received before noon today were emailed to the council, and a printed copy was placed at council seats tonight at this meeting. So our first public hearing is 20A07 Louis and Dillard annexation. Associate Planning Director Deborah Grannon will introduce the item. Council will not take action on this item this evening. Instead, it will return to council for a vote at a future meeting. Ms. Grannon.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. For your consideration this evening is a public hearing for a request for 6.7 acres located at 6705 Louis Drive, approximately 630 feet east of the intersection with NC 55 highway. The Brookstone subdivision is located to the north and east, and the land located to the south and west of the property is in Wake County. The property is contiguous to Cary's corporate limits. However, it is outside our ETJ and currently has a Wake County zoning designation of residential 40 watershed. To develop the site under Cary's regulations and to receive Cary services, it's necessary to first bring the property into the corporate limits and to establish Cary zoning. The Louis Drive rezoning case 20 REZ 08 was submitted with this annexation petition and proposes rezoning the property to transitional residential conditional use to allow development of up to 40 townhouses. Council held a public hearing on that rezoning request on March 25th, and the case was forwarded to the Planning and Zoning Board for their review. Following the public hearing on the annexation, no action by council is required this evening. The request will be placed on a future meeting agenda so that action may coincide with final action on the rezoning request. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'm available for your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Grannon. It's now time to open the public hearing for 20A07 Louis and Dillard annexation. And there were no speakers for this public hearing. So I will close the public hearing and open it up to council members for questions or comments. Any questions or comments? All right, this will return to us at a future meeting for action. We now move to our second public hearing, which is 21A05 Griffiths and Richard annexation. Associate Planning Director Deborah Grannon will once again introduce the item, and once again, we're not going to take action on this item this evening. Ms. Grannon.
Thank you. This next request is for 1.2 acres located at 9216 Green Level Church Road, approximately 375 feet north of the intersection with Green Hope School Road. The annexation includes approximately 0.6 acres of intervening area, and in this case, that's within the Green Level Church Road right-of-way. The property is contiguous to Cary's corporate limits. It's zoned residential 40. The request is not associated with a rezoning or development plan. The owners of the property are proposing to relocate the existing mobile homes from the site and to locate the historic Mills House to the property. As you recall, the Mills House is currently located on Green Level West Road, on property that was part of the Green Level mixed-use rezoning approved in 2019. During that rezoning, we noted that Cary's Historic Preservation Commission found the structure to be a preservation priority, and the applicant offered a zoning condition to ensure preservation of the structure in perpetuity by requiring a preservation easement be placed on the house once it was relocated. The property owners are requesting annexation so that they can connect to Cary utilities and renovate the house after it's relocated. The property must be annexed into Cary prior to connecting to utilities. Following the public hearing, staff recommends that council defer final action on the request to a future meeting. This concludes staff's presentation. The applicant, Mrs. Richards, is on the line, and following her comments and the public hearing will be available for your questions.
Thank you, Ms. Grannon. Ms. Richards, please proceed.
Thank you for allowing me to speak a few words in support of the annexation petition. I would just like to note that the property in question that we're requesting to be annexed is adjacent to our residents, our long-term residents. We've lived in our house for 35 years. Our house immediately next door to this property is also listed on Cary's website as of historic interest. It's the original parsonage for the Green Level Baptist Church that we have renovated over these many years. We also own the corner lot at Green Hope School Road, which will give us a contiguous 3 acres that we simply hope to preserve some of the historical nature of Green Level. We purchased the lot next door in December. We became aware of the house the Duke was attempting to relocate. It seemed to us to be a perfect fit for this lot, which we had intended to probably build a small structure on. We have since not relocated. We have demolished the 2 trailers, the septic systems on the property, and we've cleared the brush and the junk and debris. So it's already been cleaned up and is, we are in the final stages of working with Duke to take ownership of the historic Mills House. I would simply add that I think it's a perfect location for this house. It allows the house to remain in the Green Level community. It actually is an extremely similar structure to our current residence. It's about the same age. It has the same internal layout as well as pyramidal roof. So it places 2 historic houses next to each other. And with the easement that comes with the capital area preservation that we are taking on, that protects the 1.2, well, the 1 acre lot that we have parceled from further development. And we hope that that will help to protect our property as well. So we're looking forward to having this house here. I would finally just add that I think once this move begins to take place, I think it will generate a lot of interest in the community. And you might even want to consider live streaming some aspects of the remove, because I think it will be quite dramatic, being a 40-foot wide, 35-foot high structure that is going to have to be moved 2 miles along the roadways here. And with that, I would just thank also, I just wanted to thank Wayne Nicholas and Jeff Allen particularly for their help. Cary has been extremely helpful to us as homeowners, just trying to navigate our way through this process of what needs to be done to relocate the house. Thank you.
Thank you. And yeah, we've got to work on getting a live stream of that. I want to see that. Okay, now's the time for the public hearing for 21A05 Griffiths and Richard annexation. And since there were no callers this evening, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up to council members for questions or comments. Any questions or comments?
Why can't we take action on this one tonight?
That's a good question. Ms. Grannon, why can't we take action on this one tonight?
It's because of the remote meetings and being abundantly cautious, just in case somebody within the next 24 hours has a comment. It's to make sure that we have ample time to receive any additional comments.
Thank you, Ms. Grannon. Other questions or comments?
I'd like to make another comment.
All righty. As I said earlier, it'll return to us at a future meeting, which takes us to our 3rd and final public hearing. It's the annexation of town property portion of Knotty Oaks Drive right-of-way. Once again, Associate Planning Director Deborah Grannon will introduce the item, and council will not take action on this annexation tonight. Ms. Grannon.
Thank you, Mayor. This final annexation petition is for town-owned property. It's 0.25 acres. It's located at the current terminus of Bachelor Road, and this is on property that's adjacent to the Shadow Creek subdivision that's currently under construction. The property is contiguous to Cary's corporate limits. However, it's outside the ETJ. In 2020, the parcel was conveyed to Cary from the developer of Shadow Creek to serve as a portion of the Knotty Oaks Drive right-of-way that provides access to the subdivision. Annexation of the property is necessary so that the existing street and related infrastructure within the parcel's boundaries will be in the corporate limits and maintained by Cary, just as the remainder of Knotty Oaks Drive will be maintained once the Shadow Creek development is completed. Rezoning of this parcel is not necessary since the road is right-of-way. Following the public hearing, staff recommends that council defer final action on the request to a future meeting. This concludes staff's presentation, and please let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Grannon. I'll open up the public hearing for the annexation of town property portion of Naughty Oaks Pine right-of-way. And there were no comments submitted or no call-in speakers, so I'll close the public hearing and open it up to council members for questions or comments. Any questions or comments? All right, that's coming to us at a future date. So we now move to discussion items. Our first and only discussion item is the Glen Park Place private street acceptance of maintenance. Transportation Engineering Supervisor Kyle Hubert will present the staff's report, and council may take action. Mr. Hubert.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight I'm here to request authorization to accept Glen Park Place, a private townhome street, for maintenance as a Cary Street. But first, I wanted to provide a brief update on work the Streets Task Force has been performing prior to and since we were before you last May, when Council approved amendments to the Land Development Ordinance, the Community Appearance Manual, standard specifications, and details requiring all proposed townhome streets and alleys to be public. Prior to Council requiring townhome streets and alleys to be public, staff was already working with the development community to encourage public streets and proposed townhome developments. This slide shows Austin Ridge Towns, a townhome neighborhood approved in December 2019, where staff successfully worked with the developer to include public streets. Cornerstone Towns and Northwest Manor are other examples of townhome neighborhoods that have been approved with public streets prior to the adoption of our new requirements. Since the adoption of these new requirements, examples of townhome neighborhoods currently under review that include public streets are Twyla Road South and Apollo 15 townhomes. Concurrent with the development review process, the Streets Task Force has been working with existing neighborhoods that include private streets to better understand their challenges related to street maintenance. Collaboration with these neighborhoods is helping staff learn about and better understand community concerns, share information, and develop guidelines for accepting maintenance of private streets. Some things we've learned: our neighborhoods are very appreciative we are working with them to help address street maintenance concerns. Each neighborhood is unique and in varying states of condition, and many neighborhoods are unsure about street maintenance and associated costs. Glen Park is one of about a dozen neighborhoods with private streets staff has been working with. The first two steps that need to occur prior to Cary accepting maintenance of private streets are: first, the HOA must obtain approval from its residents to dedicate right-of-way. And second, the HOA and staff work together and agree on improvements to be made prior to Cary accepting maintenance. Glen Park is the first to complete both these steps. The next step is why we're here tonight. Staff's requesting council to authorize acceptance of street maintenance contingent on the HOA addressing agreed upon improvements. And after that, the HOA works to address those improvements. The HOA records the updated right-of-way documents, and then staff provides notification to the HOA of acceptance of maintenance as a Cary street. Staff recommends council adopt the resolution included in the staff report authorizing the acceptance of Glen Park Place for maintenance as a Cary street contingent on the HOA making agreed upon improvements. Thank you for your time, and please let me know if there's any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Hubert. Questions or comments for Mr. Hubert?
Just a comment. You know, we've talked in the past about trying to get these private streets up to our standards with the ultimate goal of, you know, bringing them in. I think this is a good example of one where, though it's a relatively new development, they had to meet our criteria anyhow. So going through this process, there were several things that had on the punch list that had to be reconciled, and were. So I think this is a good step in our goal of moving forward, you know, with these and getting them into our system. You know, after discussion or any other questions, I would make that in the motion.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Smith. Other questions or comments? Mr. Smith?
Make a motion to go with the staff, Kyle, the staff presentation and accept this report and bring that in.
Okay.
Second it.
Motion and a second. Questions, discussion. Roll call vote. Mr. Councilmember Yerha.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem France.
Aye.
Councilmember Luke.
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Bush.
Aye.
I'm affirmative, and we have passed the resolution. All right, that concludes the regular business, and now the council will go into closed session, and I will recognize Councilmember Bush for our motion.
Pursuant to GS 143-318-11A 1, 3, 5, and 6, I move that we hold a closed session to instruct the town staff concerning the position to be taken by or on behalf of the town in negotiating the price and material terms of a contract or proposed contract for the acquisition of real property, consult with attorneys employed by and/or retained by the town in order to preserve the attorney-client privilege between the attorneys and the town, and to consider the qualifications, competence, performance, character, fitness, conditions of appointment, or conditions of initial employment of one or more individuals or prospective public officers or employees, and to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential or not considered a public record.
Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion. Roll call vote. Councilmember Yorha.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem France. Councilmember Lou.
Aye.
Councilmember Robinson.
Aye.
Councilmember Smith.
Aye.
Councilmember Bush.
Aye.
I'm affirmative, and we are moving into closed session. Thank you. We have concluded our business for the evening, so therefore this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.